Guys, welcome back. We have a new leader in Serie A, and it's Napoli. And Scott McTominay, he's playing a key part in these incredible Napoli results this season. He has scored 5 goals in the last 3 games and has become the most prolific Scottish goal scorer in Serie A, beating the record previously belonging to Dennis Lowe, who had scored 10 goals in the 1961-62 campaign with Torino. Scott McTominay has 11 with Napoli this season, plus 4 assists in 30 games in Serie A. This means McTominay has 1 goal or 1 assist every 2 games for Napoli in Serie A this season, which is something incredible for a midfielder. But his importance for Napoli was very much evident from the very start of the season because Conte is somebody who's very reluctant to change tactics. He's been relying on a three-man defense. Then it was 3-5-2 or 3-4-1, 3-4-3, depending on the teams, depending on the players that he had. But he mostly relied on a three-man defense for more than a decade. And when McTominay arrived, it only took a few weeks to change the Napoli lineup, go back to a four-man defense, and basically give McTominay a starting spot in every Napoli match. The first time was in an away game against Juventus at the beginning of the season, 0-0, and from that moment, McTominay has become a regular starter at Napoli, and the results, of course, have proved Conte right because the goal involvements of McTominay and his physicality and his approach on and off the field, I would say, his are making him a key part of the Napoli race for the title. Um, the very start from McTominay has been very positive. There was a recent interview with the Athletic where he spoke about his life off the field, his habits, and the way he was welcomed by Napoli fans when he arrived from Manchester United in the summer, with thousands of fans welcoming him at the airport. And so the approach for him at Napoli has been immediately very, very positive. And I think he's proved to be probably the best midfielder in the league this season and has been playing in multiple roles for Napoli because he's been playing as a central midfielder, as an attacking midfielder. Many times during the matches, he moves towards the left or towards the right to create space in the middle, and is proving to be really mm, a key player for Napoli alongside Romelu Lukaku and Alessandro Buongiorno in defense, which highlights the good job done by Napoli in the summer transfer window, even if Conte is not always happy um, and has recently complained about the management of the club and potentially their ambition going forward as well. What they did over the summer is surely giving the results to Conte and Napoli. Conte, of course, is doing a great job in terms of motivating the team, in terms of tactical ability, in terms of being able to keep tight lines and have a strong defense, which in Syria is always crucial to seal the title. And now he has a 3 point lead over second place Inter with just 4 games remaining. So Napoli really have a serious shot to win the title. Talking about McTominay, I said um, his involvement and his importance on the pitch is pretty much very clear by the stats that he has and by the numbers that I show you at the start of the video. But I think that overall he really loves lives in Naples, and you can see that from the picture that he posts from his social media. Uh, he's still not giving interviews in Italian, but he uses some Italian words and Italian statements on social media, which suggest that he's settling in. It's a small detail, but I think it says a lot about how well he has adapted to Napoli and how good he's doing off the field as well as on the pitch. And uh, there was a turning point at some point this summer because Napoli seemed close to sign Marco Brescianini, who went to Atalanta and had a very good start at Atalanta with 2 goals against Lecce, and it seemed that Napoli had missed out on a big opportunity because Brescianini was one of the emerging um, Serie A midfielders, attacking midfielders that were ready to join a top side. He went to Atalanta, so Napoli moved to Scott McTominay, and in the end, they have to be very, very happy with what they did because McTominay is doing great things, and not just in the last 3 games where I said he scored 5 goals, bringing 9 points to Napoli because he scored winners against Torino yesterday. He scored the winner against Monza, and then he scored 2 goals against Empoli in a 3-0 win. But McTominay impact, as I already said, it's something that highlights the good job done by Napoli as well, because on the transfer market, after a very disappointing season, they managed to stick together, get a new director, Giovanni Manna, very young but very promising as well from Juventus. They got Antonio Conte, who is the best when it comes to fixing problems right away and very quickly. And that's exactly what he did. Napoli finished outside the Champions League and the European placement last season. And this season, they're doing what they're doing. It's true that they didn't have any European competition. They were eliminated pretty early from the Coppa Italia, but they also spent 150 million on the transfer market, which suggests that Conte is not always right when he complains about the transfer window. Of course, they sold Kvaratskhelia in January, which is clearly not good for a team that wants to compete for the title. The replacement wasn't good enough because Noah Okafor wasn't even a starter at Milan, so he's not even a starter at Napoli this time around. Conte doesn't have replacements in a few positions, like the striker, like the wingers, where there are just Politano and Neres who are actual attacking wingers. And he doesn't have probably enough depth at centre back. But Napoli are only playing in 2 competitions this season, and they were eliminated pretty early from the Coppa Italia. So it's an adequate team, I think, for the competitions that they had to play. And for sure, they will invest the Kvaratskhelia money over the summer, and they will have to invest the money coming from Osimhen sale as well. So the recent complaints from Antonio Conte are not entirely fair, I would say, for Napoli, because they invested under 50 million pretty much in new signings. They brought in Buongiorno, Neres, McTominay, Gilmour, Lukaku. There isn't a replacement for Lukaku, but he has double figures for goals and assists in Serie A this season, which says a lot about the impact that he's had as well. And this is no surprise because we all know the performances and the great results that Lukaku has been achieving with Conte as his head coach already at Inter when they won the title a few years back. So Conte and De Laurentiis will sit down at the end of the season to discuss the future. Conte's contract expires in 2027, but I think you should really think twice before leaving Napoli, regardless of the offers that he has on the table, because he has already proved to be a very good coach when it comes to fixing problems right away, but he's not a coach for a long-term project because he's left Juventus and he's left Inter because he didn't agree on the transfer strategies, he didn't agree on the view for the future, but in the end, he was proved wrong because Juventus continued winning under Allegri and even under Maurizio Sarri. They reached 2 Champions League finals. Inter have won more trophies under Inzaghi. They reached the Champions League final in 2023. This season, they've gone pretty much until the end of all competitions in April, and they're into the Champions League semi-finals still. They're 3 points behind Conte. But overall, there has been a development for Inter on the field after Conte left, which is not what Conte expected when he decided to leave. So he should think twice, and perhaps some complaints, again, are not entirely fair to Napoli because they did what they had to in the transfer window, especially in the summer. And then I think more investments and more new players will come next summer too, after Kvaratskhelia sale, and that's after Victor Osimhen sale, who is going to leave the club permanently at the end of the season. So something that Conte doesn't say quite often is that the club has done a good job in some areas. Then, of course, the daily management and what happens behind the scenes is not always entirely clear. And it's really not easy to work with Aurelio De Laurentiis because other coaches have already complained about the relationship with him. We know about Sarri, we know about Spalletti as well. So it's not somebody easy to deal with, but at the same time, he gave Conte the resources and he gave Conte the money to develop his project at Napoli for this season, and probably the coach should stick around and remain for longer to see if he can build something more durable in time and something that he can develop over multiple years. We know there are reports about Juventus, about Milan, about other clubs interested in Conte, but what he's starting building at Napoli is something really important. And McTominay is just the tip of the iceberg, I would say. I mean, it was one of the signings that not necessarily all the media saw as a winning one for Napoli, but he's proved to be probably the best midfielder in Serie A this season, and he's a proof that Napoli, if they follow the coach and if they work all together as a team, they can really achieve something important, not just this season, but in the next campaigns as well. So now they have a 3 point lead, a relatively easy fixture list in the last 4 games of the season, even if they meet Parma and Lecce, who are fighting for survival. So it's never easy to meet those sides in the last part of the campaign. But he can rely on strong players. He can rely on the best Scottish player in the league officially now, Scott McTominay, and a striker who is proved to be a security, a certainty in Serie A, like Romelu Lukaku. Remains to be seen what happens in the future. Again, he will talk to De Laurentiis at the end of the season, but the early signs are really promising. So I would suggest Conte to stay at Napoli and continue developing what he has created, because the early signs are really, really promising. And it's also thanks to what the club has given him in the current campaign. There have been errors. Kvaratskhelia hasn't been replaced properly, but many good things have been made. And it's no coincidence that Napoli are now the table leaders. There will be more to talk about and more to discuss about Serie A, because still the title race is wide open. Top race for the top four is wide open. Tomorrow I will preview the Barcelona Inter semifinal with a special guest, so stay tuned. And if you like the video, subscribe to my channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about the title race, about Conte, about McTominay, and we'll be talking very, very soon to discuss all things Serie A and Italian football. Thank you for watching. Speak soon. Bye.